Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a Sorcerer Tempest Cleric build guide for Baldur's Gate 3. This has got to be the most OP build. I'm actually going to be giving 4 different builds here that are all kind of similar but have differences. So we're going to start off with the Sorcerer because this gives us Constitution saving throw proficiency, meaning that we're going to be less likely to break our concentration. And we want to obviously be taking Ray of Frost and Shocking Grasp because this can be doubled for double damage because they both benefit from Create Water. I also really like Minor Illusion. If you're the face of the party, take Friends. If not, take Bone Chill. And those are pretty good spells. I would recommend having Chromatic Orb early on because you can change this to lightning damage so that you can still get that lightning boost. We'll take Magic Missile next level, but Shield for the +5 to armor classes reaction is huge. This can help us survive early in the game as we might not have some great survivability. Now, there's 2 ways we can go about here. So Draconic will give us better armor class. We get the Draconic Resilience, so that gives us a base armor class of 13. Storm Sorcerer will give us Fly at level 1 as a bonus action. So when we do this, we can't use Quicken Spell, but the Draconic will get Fly at level 11, which can be used as just movement speed. So either one you go with is great. I have a dedicated build to the Storm Sorcerer Tempest Cleric, but I think Draconic is actually a little bit better, and I'm going to get into why. But I'll also explain it with the Tempest Cleric. So if we go with the blue ancestry here, we get a boost to our charisma modifier added to lightning damage, and we become resistant to it. There's 2 different ones. One will have Fog Cloud, which is a good option early game as it blinds and heavily obscures. But the Witch Bolt can be upcast. It's not amazing, but it can be a decent damage dealer if you want to go with that route. So yeah, I would recommend going the Draconic because it actually just has straight up better damage with adding our charisma modifier. As for our weapons, as for our stats, now Dexterity is going to be good for our armor class, but you can also go early game and dump Dexterity and use the Gloves of Dexterity to set it to 18, which will increase armor class. But if you don't want to go that route, I would recommend having it somewhere around this. And we're going to go with 16 Constitution, 16 Charisma. We want to have 12 Wisdom, and then put the rest of the points into whatever stat there. But definitely want to make sure that our Constitution is high, as well as our Charisma and Wisdom being a decent stat as well. If you want, you can also just like, if you got the points to be able to dump your Dexterity, you can put it all into there. And yeah, there's a few different ways you can go about that. But the 4 different builds I'll get into at the end, that would be either choosing the Storm Sorcerer or the Draconic. But the Draconic has more damage. Now, at level 2, we're going to be going with Magic Missile, because this just allows us to hit enemies that we might not normally be able to hit, because it curves through walls. Ice Knife can be decent for cold damage, but it only does 2d6 of cold damage, so you're only going to be maximum adding 12 damage total. Or I guess 6 damage total to make it 12. Twin Spell and Distant Spell are the best. Distant gives us plus 50% range to our spells. Twin Spell gives us the ability to target another person. And this works with haste, so we can give ourselves an extra action, making haste a free spell, and give haste to someone else, giving them 2 actions. So that means a fighter can attack 6 times, which is incredible. At level 3, we're getting our hands on level 2 spells. Misty Step's a good option to be able to move around, because the Draconic one doesn't get the ability to fly, like the bonus action you get from Storm Sorcerer. So as a Draconic, you can go Misty Step, but Hold Person's a really great concentration early on in the game. Scorching Ray is fire damage, doesn't really benefit our build here. So Hold Person can hold enemies still, they can't act or react, and attacks within 3 meters are critical, so it can set up your fighters that you may have hasted. I think this is the best option here, but Misty Step can be good for Draconics that don't have the ability to fly. And we get Quicken Spell, 3 sorcery points, can cast a spell as a bonus action. It's huge, really useful. At level 4, we get ourselves a feat, and then we get to take another cantrip, Firebolt or Friends, depending on what you need. If you're a Tav or Dark Urge, take Friends, but Firebolt will give us the ability to melt water or melt ice into water. And I would say at level 3, Mirror Image can be good to increase armor class to 9 plus 9, which is nice. Misty Step for just movement around the battlefield. If you're a Draconic Sorcerer, take Misty Step. If you're a Storm Sorcerer, take Mirror Image. And for the feat, we're going to go with an ability improvement, take our Charisma up to 18. It's just the right thing to do. Now we get a level 5 spells, or level 3 spells at level 5. We want to take Haste. I know a lot of people like Lightning Bolt will take that next level. Haste is better. We can apply Haste to ourselves and one other, give them an extra action. Turning the action economy in Baldur's Gate 3 is huge, so if you can get yourself moving more than your opponent, more times than not, you're going to win. Subclass features, if the Elemental Affinity, you add your Charisma modifier to the damage, so lightning damage gets a +4. It's pretty nice. Water, in water, that gives us +8. So we want to set up water as much as possible. That's why I got the robe of the Wave Mother on right now. And we're going to take Lightning Bolt because, hey, 8d6 that can be doubled is really nice. We want that. Sorcerer level 7. We get access to level 4 spells. I think Ice Storm's the best because it makes slippery surfaces. And it deals a bit of cold damage. It's a 4d6 of cold, so that's pretty nice. Alternatively, you can go 6 levels of Tempest Cleric here, but I think that this way is stronger. The Sorcerer is the best caster in the game, so we want to take advantage of that as much as we can, and that is why we're going to take more levels in it. Confusion can be a really good option for crowd control if you need some. You don't have like a bard that would be casting this. You can also go with Fireball, because Fireball is a great spell, and Counterspell is a nice one. Grand Fly is not something you want to use. Counterspell would be the way to go. But also Dimension Door if you didn't take Misty Step. And then for our second feat, Charisma all the way +4 or +5 to our Charisma checks, so that's +5 damage. Plus there's a hat in Act 3 that gives you +2 to Charisma, so that gives us +6 to our damage, and then that's doubled to +12 when Create Water set up. Now Cone of Cold works incredibly well with Storm Sorcerer and Draconic Sorcerer. We don't get our ability modifier added to cold damage, but you could take the Cold Sorcerer. I do have an Ice Sorcerer build, but 88 in cold damage, up to 128 damage from having water set up is just absurd. Cone of Cold is amazing. A really great spell. Underrated. I don't think people give it enough attention for how good it is, but it is a really good spell. Now at level 10, this is where we can start to decide on where we're going. I would recommend having Mage Hand to throw water bottles, because the water bottles can set up wet for double damage on lightning. Level 5 spell, I think Hold Monster is really useful. This will hold anything that's not undead, and clerics can just turn undead, so we're going to go with that. And then Subtle Spell to cast spells while silence is not a bad option either, so you can't be shut down at all. Now for level 11, we get Fly. So this flies to a target position. This uses movement speed. You can go, I'll add in the Cleric right now, but then for our final level, there's another couple choices that we got. I like to have Resistance, Guidance, and Sacred Flame. Sacred Flame's not great, but Radiant damage can be okay against undead if you have no other options. Produce Flame will create a fire that can put out water. If you have an ice surface buildup, you can create wet with it. Now we want to take the Tempest Domain because we can use a reaction to strike back at an attacking creature dealing 2 to 16 lightning damage, and that can be doubled again, so more lightning damage. We also get Thunderwave for pushback, which can be nice, and then also Fog Cloud, which we would have gotten. Had we chose the other ancestor, we would have gotten that, but that's why I went with the one that gave Witch Bolt. Now, as far as the options for our deity, this is up to you for roleplay. Seleneg actually gives some pretty good options for dialogue, so I'd recommend going with that. And for our spells, I guess there's also Talos, which makes sense, but I think that Seleneg gives us the best options for dialogue. We want Create Water. I have a robe that gives Create Water, but we can upcast this, and it hits more people, which is huge. Healing Word to give a bonus action heal, so if a teammate's down, you don't have to spend an action running over to them and picking them back up. You can use Healing Word, and they'll get back up. Bless if no one has Bless in your team. Command is another great option, but it will be using your Wisdom modifier, so it might not be as amazing as you want it to be. Sanctuary doesn't require any level of Wisdom, so we can go Sanctuary. Guiding Bolt's okay. We'll go with those 3 spells, and yeah, we also get our Domain spell. So now we could go with another level here to get Turn Undead, and this is a big component that can be possible with this build. So Destructive Wrath. When you roll Thunder or Lightning damage, you can use your Channel Divinity to deal maximum damage instead. That is broken. What that means is if we have our staff here that gives us Chain Lightning, we can cast that for 180 or 160 damage. Now we would, like you can see here, we could get Chain Lightning, 80, 160 damage doubled. But at Sorcerer we get Fly and level 6 spells. So I think that the best way to go about this is going 11 Sorcerer, but 2 levels of Cleric is great because we get another prepared spell. But the big thing being is this Destructive Wrath to be able to deal maximum amount of lightning damage. And we also get another Channel Divinity charge at this level. Personally, I think that it's better to go with the Draconic and get Fly. But you can go either way. And you also get Chain Lightning. We're definitely taking Chain Lightning. Even though Global Invulnerability is huge, you should have a Wizard to cast that. And Chain Lightning with Fly, I think, is the best option here. So as I said, you can go Storm Sorcerer or Draconic. They're both great. They just have a little bit of difference between them. And then you can go 11 levels or 10 levels of Sorcerer. As for the gear, Birthright will take our Charisma up to 22 for a +6. If you have the Mirror of Lost, you can take that up to a +7. So that's nice. Cloak of Protection gives us a 20 armor class, which is not bad. Ideally, we could add in the Monk to get some more unarmored defense, or the Barbarian, which is... Barbarian's weird, but it works well because they emulate greater health stacks with it. So we can go with heavier armor because we're allowed to wear heavy armor as a cleric, and that takes our armor class up to 27. But I'll get into the options for armor in a minute. Gloves of Belligerent Sky. When you deal lightning damage, inflict 2 turns of reverberation on the target. These are great because reverberation can knock the enemy prone, and it deals damage to them too. But we can also go with the Gloves of Dexterity, which would take the armor class up to 24, which is a little bit better. If you wanted to go with the light armor route, that's why I said we could dump Dexterity. But if Dexterity doesn't matter for you, Helldust Armor will give us an armor class of 27, so it can be a better option if you want to go heavier armor. Even with like Armor of Agility, if you have the Dexterity Gauntlets, it gives you a good armor class. So you can go with either one of those, and if you don't want to go with Gloves of Dexterity, I would go heavy armor. And Glove of the Belligerent Sky is probably best. Evasive Shoes for +1 armor class. Marco Heschker, which I'll get into why it's amazing. +1 armor class. Amulet of Greater Health for greater health. Gives us 34, which normally we would only have 98 health, so the Amulet of Greater Health helps out a lot. And Crypt Lord Ring. Having Create Undead is a huge spell. It's normally level 6 that you would get from the cleric, but we can get it and just cast it and have a mummy beside us, so that tanks for us, which is kind of nice. Because this doesn't get that many... This class doesn't get a whole lot of options for magic, but or for summons. But our usual way of dealing with combat, we do have our Fly here, which is kind of cool to be able to just fly around. I love the animations for Fly. Chain Lightning's our big nuke spell. We get 1 use of it, and you want to have Create Water set up, so you can go with the Wave Mother robes to create water at level 4, which is pretty big. Like if I put on the Wave Mother robes here, you get a level 4 Create Water, which is, as you can see, pretty large. So whenever you do Create Water, you can hit anyone in that area for double damage. And then we have Chain Lightning, which can do 160 at max, and it jumps to 3 targets in 18 meters, which is huge. But this is where the Marco Heschker comes in, because we get the Kreska's Favor, and the Bolts of Doom will add additional lightning damage equal to your proficiency bonus, so even more damage. You can go with the Frost of the Dark Winter, which gives you Cone of Cold and Ice Storm, and adds damage and resistance. Bolts of Doom, however, looks cool. So whenever we cast this here, we get lightning on our weapons. And then we get ourselves another Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning. And Lightning Bolt's actually underrated. It can do upwards of 94 damage. 96 damage? 96 damage. It can do 96 damage. This one does 160 because they get doubled from water, which is just massive. And then we also have Crackling with Kreska's Lightning. Use Conjure Us or something for a bit more crowd control. You want to be using Twinned Haste, so find a buddy that you want to get hasted up and apply haste to yourself and to them, and then you get yourself that extra action, so you can cast 2 spells and then use Quicken Spell to cast a 3rd spell. It's broken and very great. So you can do Chain Lightning, and then hit them with the Quicken Spell, Chain Lightning. You got the Arcane Battery there, which can be used once for a long rest, which allow you to cast 3 Chain Lightnings per turn. So if you're really smart with it and you set up haste right out before combat starts, and even turn on turn base mode so you don't lose the haste, you can do 3 Chain Lightnings and the encounter on turn 1. This is by far the most broken build guide in Baldur's Gate 3. So yeah, if you have any questions about it, leave a comment below. I've been perfecting this one because I roll with actually 2. I have Shadowheart as a Tempest Cleric, and I have this as a Tempest Cleric. On all my playthroughs, I like to use 2 of them because they work together. One can create water, set up all this damage, and then you can even roll in with like a Cone of Cold. I'm probably going to aggro someone. But Cone of Cold is huge too. Yep, it aggroed. So that is the Sorcerer Tempest Cleric build guide for Baldur's Gate 3. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.